now? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I'm seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to send out another text just to make
I'll
sure.
be there. I'll be
Okay.
there.
Well, that's nice. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Too long. Yeah, but no, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Good.
Om Jnanatimandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalatam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bob, would you like to read the English for that, please?
I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Abhay, sorry, before you start, under the not the translation, under the if you in the introduction, you've got the top two lines, then you've got the two bottom lines.
Yes.
I know I've never asked what they are.
What underneath the Sri Chaitanya Manobhastam?
Yeah.
That's another prayer which is offered to Rupa Goswami. And that the translation for that's just under the translation for this one we do every time. So when will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is established within this material world, the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. So who is Rupa Goswami Prabhupada? So that is one of the 6 Goswamis. So the 6 Goswamis, they were the immediate disciples or followers of Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago. So, and this is a verse of prayer to Rupa Goswami. We are actually called, as followers of Lord Chaitanya, we're called Rupanugas. Another name for the followers of Lord Chaitanya is called Rupanugas. So Rupa means that particular devotee named Rupa Goswami.
Yep.
And Anuga means to follow.
Right.
Anuga means to follow. So we're followers of Rupa. So Rupa Goswami was like one of the most respected followers of Lord Chaitanya, very enlightened and very pure devotee. He wrote many books, like we know, right? The Nectar of Devotion was written by Rupa Goswami, the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Also the Nectar of Instruction, the small book, Nectar of Instruction, both of those were from Rupa Goswami. And there's many other books too that Prabhupada didn't translate. But so he's given us like the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness that we follow. And Lord Chaitanya personally instructed him on at least a couple of occasions, and that's mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion, or all the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It's mentioned there when Lord Chaitanya instructed Rupa Goswami, and his elder brother was Sanatana Goswami, and their nephew was Jiva Goswami. So like that, they were disciples of Lord Chaitanya, and they understood the mission and the desire as mentioned in this verse. So Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me the shelter under his lotus feet. So being followers of Lord Chaitanya, they understood what his desire was. They knew what, and of course Lord Chaitanya is God. So they knew what God's desire was. They knew what God's desire was. And what is God's desire? Do you guys know what, guys and girls, know what is God's desire? What's Lord Chaitanya's desire?
Is it to come back to Godhead?
Yep. Who comes back to Godhead? Only Bob goes back to Godhead, or who goes back to Godhead?
Anyone that follows Krishna.
Yeah. But that knowledge of going back to Godhead, do we keep that all to ourselves, or do we do something with it?
No, we try to spread the word.
Yeah, you try to spread it. So that's the mission of Lord Chaitanya. That's the desire of Lord Chaitanya, to spread this missionary activities of chanting the holy name and dancing and taking prasadam, to spread this culture of bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness all around to as many people as possible. One of his instructions, which is like you could say the essence, you could say, of his mission was Yare Deka Tarikaha Krishnupadesh Omaragnaya Guru Hana Taradesh. What that means is wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them Krishna's instructions given in the Bhagavad Gita. Tell that to people. In this way, become a guru, a spiritual master, and deliver everyone in the land. So that was Lord Chaitanya's desire, that this knowledge about Krishna consciousness was distributed very widely, was spread everywhere. So the 6 Goswamis, they spread the knowledge of Krishna consciousness all throughout India, and they wrote many books. And those books, of course, got read by many, many people and distributed far and wide. And Prabhupada has taken that and he's spread it even more, of course. He's taken it outside of India and spread it all over the whole world. So we can't imagine how dear Prabhupada is to Lord Chaitanya. I mean, anyone that spreads Krishna consciousness is especially dear to Lord Chaitanya. But Prabhupada has spread it more than any person in history. So extraordinary. And we're so lucky to be followers of Prabhupada. But here, before Prabhupada's translating the Bhagavad Gita, he first of all offers prayers to his spiritual master. And that's the one we do. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. So he's offering prayers to his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And then he's offering a prayer to Rupa Goswami, who was, like I said, the immediate follower of Lord Chaitanya. So the idea is before we can talk about Krishna or write about Krishna or do any service for Krishna, we need to get blessings. That's a very important part of Krishna consciousness, that we realize by myself I can't do anything. I'm tiny. Like, how big is the soul, right? We're 1/10,000th the thickness of the tip of a hair. We're so tiny, so insignificant. And we become humble like that, realizing I'm very small, I'm very helpless. So, naturally, a Krishna conscious, humble devotee, realizing I can't do any service alone, I need some mercy, I need some help. So we pray, we pray to our spiritual master, we pray to the even previous, more predecessor acharyas or teachers like that. So we pray to God, of course. That's why we chant Hare Krishna, right? So that's a prayer. Hare is a prayer to Radharani, and Krishna, we're offering a prayer. And then to Rama. Rama was another name for Krishna. So that's a prayer asking, that Radharani and Krishna, please protect us from Maya and engage us in your service. So that's also a prayer. So devotees are always praying both to Krishna and the devotees, to please help us. Jai, Bhakti Mala's come back. That's great. You disappeared for a little while.
I wasn't sure if I or if you guys left.
No, your connection, it doesn't seem very strong. I mean, your picture's a bit blurry. So I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
your voice was cutting out a bit.
It's
So
coming.
anyway, you're back.
On my end, it's coming through in increments. Like it's only every 1 or 2 seconds you seem to be. You seem to go into stillness and it moves.
I'm hotspotting on my phone now. I don't have Wi-Fi anymore.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. I mean, the internet on this side might not be very good either because of the cyclone. Probably the internet's a bit rugged. I might go downstairs. I might get a little bit better internet down there.
You're very clear this end on my screen.
I am, okay. Okay, let's stay there then.
Very clear.
Yeah, okay. I think it's just me.
Okay, yeah. No problem. Anyway, we're all connected at the moment, so that's all good. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just saying that because Bob was asking about this prayer, the second prayer after our normal one, to Rupa Goswami. Yeah, it's very important to pray to previous devotees, our spiritual master, and even further back, to pray to Lord Chaitanya, pray to his disciples, pray to Radharani, pray to Krishna, pray to as many as we can, as much as possible. And pray for mercy, pray for mercy, pray Pray to these great personalities to protect us from Maya, protect us from illusion. Pray for spiritual strength. Pray for, spiritual knowledge, enlightenment. Pray for service. Like Prabhupada translated the Hare Krishna mantra as a prayer for service. We're praying to Radharani and Krishna, please engage me in your service. And he also said it's a prayer, asking them to protect us from Maya. So two things, we're praying for service and praying to be protected from Maya. So this is a very important part of a devotee's life, always humbly realizing that we're so helpless and small and we need help and we need the mercy, so like that. So good question, Bob. That's good. We're talking about Rupa Goswami. Yeah, so we should all know about Rupa Goswami because we're supposed to be his followers. Yeah, so he was an immediate disciple of Lord Chaitanya. So he had many followers. Lord Chaitanya had hundreds and thousands, but 6 were prominent. 6 were very prominent. So that's Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Gopala Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. So 6 Goswamis. And there's a song about those 6 Goswamis in the songbook. It starts off Krishnot Kirtana Gana Natana Paro. And the at the end of each prayer, there's 8 prayers. The end of each prayer goes Vande Rupa Sanatana Rago Yago Shi Jiva Gopalako. It's a beautiful, beautiful prayer. When we were brahmacharis, we used to sing that song every night to offer respect to the 6 Goswamis. Get their blessings. Okay, let's continue where we left off. The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. Text number
text
14. 7:14. Very important verse.
We're back to 14, are we?
Yep, because we only read the translation. I don't think we got into the purport so much, so we'll start the purport this week. But we'll read the Sanskrit once. Daivi Hyesha Gunamai.
Daivi Hyesha Gunamari.
Mama Maya Daratyaya.
Mama Maya Jirataya.
Mamavaye Prapadyante.
Mamaya Prapadyante.
Maya Metam Tarantite.
Maya Metam Tarantite.
Bhakti Mala, would you like to read the English translation, please?
This divine energy of mine, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Okay.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you well. Yeah, that's fine now. It's all good so far. Okay, Bob, do you want to start reading the purport, please?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is innumerable energy. Of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previous stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. Want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contaminations from the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Bada, is it?
Yeah, that's it. Nitya Bada. Perfect.
Or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, His release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the supreme will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement of the divine will being conducted by divine will. Maternal nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, it's just a few more lines.
The Vedas confirm this as follows. Mayam tu praktam vidyam mayanam tu masavaram. Although Maya, illusion, is false or temporary, the background of Maya is a supreme magician, and the personality of Godhead, who is Mahasvaya, the supreme controller.
That's good. That's good, Bob. We'll stop there. Yeah, well, there's a lot there, so we'll go through that. So starts off saying the Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. So you can divide it into two categories of energies. There's a spiritual energy and material energy. Para and apara. Apara means superior energy, and apara means inferior. So we are in that superior energy. The souls are superior energy of the Lord, and the material energy is inferior, not having consciousness. But however, the material energy is more powerful than us, although we are superior in the sense that we're conscious. But the material energy is more powerful, being under control of the Lord. So the Lord has empowered the material energy to cover our consciousness of the soul. So although the material energy is more powerful than us, but it's not more powerful than God. So God is the controller of the material energy. So the secret is given in this verse. Although the material nature has completely dominated us and controlled us, what we need to do is to surrender to God, to surrender to Krishna, because he is more powerful than the material energy. He's the controller of the material energy. God himself never comes under the control of Maya. That's important to understand. The Mayavadis or impersonalists, they speculate that when Krishna comes to the material world, he's also under the control of Maya, and that he has a material body and he's an illusion and everything. But that's not true. Even when God comes to the material world in any incarnation, like Krishna or Rama or so forth, but they always remain free from the control of Maya. They're not under the influence of Maya. Like, for example, God's incarnations in the material world, they never grow old, they never get sick, and they never die. And they never have an ordinary birth like what we do. But we go through all those things, so we're definitely under the control of Maya. We take birth, we grow old, we get sick, we die. So that's why we call conditioned souls. We're conditioned souls because we're forced to undergo so many conditions. But God, when he comes to the material, he doesn't go through all those conditions. He's not forced to take birth. He doesn't grow old, doesn't get sick, doesn't die like that. So that's the secret. Although Maya is stronger than us, the material energy is stronger than us, but it's not more stronger than God. So if we want to get out of the grips of material energy, we have to surrender to God. And that's what's recommended here. So although we are superior energy, means we have consciousness, but that consciousness is covered. Why is it covered? Because of the material energy has covered our higher knowledge. So that's how we've forgotten our spiritual nature, because we're covered by the material energy, covered by Maya. So if we can get free from Maya by surrendering to Krishna, then we'll get our original consciousness back. We'll remember who we are and who Krishna is in our relationship with Krishna. Our relationship with Krishna will be re-established. So now it's saying here that their illusion is eternal and therefore called nityabada, or eternally conditioned. So eternal, normally we take it in the sense of forever, right? Eternal means forever, no beginning, no end. But that's not what it's actually meaning here, that we are always in the material world. There's no beginning to it and no end. It's eternally we're here. It's not exactly the meaning of eternal here. Why it's used the word eternal here is because, like Prabhupada mentions, no one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in the material history. So because there was a particular point in time when the soul fell out of the spiritual world into the material world, but nobody can trace out that time that the soul fell down, or as Bob says, blooped. You can't trace out that time that we blooped from the spiritual world, fell down into the material world. So therefore it said nitya, which means eternal. But it doesn't mean that we have always been here and we were never in the spiritual world. No, we were in the spiritual world. Otherwise, how would we say that the soul is an eternal servant of Krishna? And the soul has love for Krishna. How could we have love for Krishna if we were never with Krishna? Does that make sense? If they say love for Krishna is, there's a verse saying Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhyakabhanoi, that it's a Bengali verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that love for Krishna is eternally present in the heart of every living entity. So tell me how you can have love for Krishna in your heart in the material world if you've always been in the material world and you were never with God, you were never with Krishna. No, doesn't make any sense. The only reason why we, all of us, every single living creature, even the soul in the body of an ant, in the body of a cockroach, in the body of an elephant, has dormant love for Krishna in their heart. Because of being covered by Maya in the form of their elephant body or ant body or whatever, that's been covered up, it's been forgotten, but it's still there in a seed form. So how is it possible that everyone in the material world has love for Krishna deep down in their heart? And that's because we originally we were all with Krishna. Originally the soul was with Krishna in the spiritual world, and that's why in the material world deep down we have love for Krishna in our hearts, and it just has to be reawakened. And how is that love for Krishna reawakened? Especially by what? How do we awaken that love for Krishna in our hearts?
You talk about through chanting?
Yeah, mainly it's through chanting. The chanting removes the covering of Maya over our hearts, and then immediately, once the covering of Maya is removed, immediately the love for Krishna is there. When that covering is gone, you're going to always be in bliss. We'll be in ecstasy all the time. Tears will be like Prabhupada coming out sideways. So it's only because we're covered by Maya, we're not expressing that now. Why are we not crying now and rolling on the ground in ecstasy and voice choking up and hairs standing on end? Is because we're covered by Maya. So when we chant, that is removing, the covering is gradually getting removed, all the lust and greed and anger and envy and pride and illusion and so forth. So once that's removed, then the love for Krishna is there. And how is it there? Because we originally were with Krishna. So when it's saying we're eternally conditioned, that's eternal in the sense that you can't find out when we fell down. You can't find out when it began. So because you can't trace out the beginning, therefore it's said eternal. But there was a beginning and there will be an end too. Like when you chant Hare Krishna and awaken your Krishna consciousness, then you're going back to Godhead. So you're not going to be staying here any longer. You're not going to be staying here. So it's not that, even like in the Christian Bible, right? They say eternal damnation. No, that's wrong. That's a misinterpretation of the original philosophy. There is no eternal damnation. Yeah, God does punish. God does punish a person that has performed sinful activities. There will be a reaction for that. It's karma, right? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. What goes around comes around, as you sow, shall you reap. But that action that we did, that sinful action, there will be a reaction, the form of some punishment there. And the punishment, once the punishment has been achieved its purpose, that we've, atoned for our sinful ways and repented, then we move on, and there's no more punishment after that. So it's not eternal damnation. It's just temporarily we get a few slaps like that, and then we can go on like that. So there is a beginning to the soul coming to the material world, and there is an end to the soul being in the material, but it is a very long time. Prabhupada indicated like that, millions of births. We've had millions of births in the material world. But it did have a beginning like that. But because it is such a long time that the soul's in the material world, it's called Nityabhada, eternally conditioned. We've been conditioned for a very long time before history, before any history can be found out like that. And then therefore, and that is the reason why Prabhupada is saying, that is the reason why it's that our release, getting released from the clutches of the material nature is very difficult. Because we have been conditioned for such a long time. Where life after life after life, we've been acting with lust. Life after life after life, we've been acting with greed. Life after life after life, we've been acting with anger. Life after life, we've been acting with envy. So you get the idea, So we've been associating with this lust, greed, anger, and envy and so forth, pride, for so many life. We're so conditioned. Just like they say, right? Old habits die hard. If you've smoked cigarettes imagine you smoke cigarettes for 40 years continuously. That's not easy to give that up, is it? Because it's such a deep habit. It's such a deeply entrenched habit. We're so conditioned that as soon as I get up in the morning, I have to drink coffee. And the next thing I do is I have to smoke a cigarette and, whatever else, So we've got these habits, right? Just like, how many years we get up and we brush our teeth. You try not to do that. Try not to brush your teeth. It's hard because you've just done it automatically. You've done it automatically for so long. When I get up, I brush my teeth. You try to change that. It's not easy. Because that habit has been going on for so long. So imagine, habits that have been going on for millions of lifetimes, which is basically what is the habit? That sense gratification that we try to enjoy through our senses. If you got the senses of a dog, you try to enjoy through that. If you got the senses of a pig, you try to enjoy through that. You got the senses of a woman, a human woman, you try to enjoy through that. A human man, you try to enjoy through that. So whatever senses we have, that you try to gratify them. So it's very strongly, entrenched in our hearts, these habits like that. But even more, even a more deeper habit, even in sense gratification, is to love God. So that's the good news. So, we have had these, habits for sense gratification for so long, but even prior to that, we had the habit to love Krishna. So that is, even like they say, right? Love is the strongest of all the energies, of all the forces. So that love for God, that is the most powerful thing, and that can overcome lust, this desire for selfish gratification that can overcome that. So it said the process of Krishna consciousness is the process of turning lust, which means the selfish desire to enjoy our own senses, to turn that back into love. Well, what is love? Love is the desire to please Krishna's senses. So that is the definition given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj, who says that lust is the desire to please ourself, our own senses, and love is the desire to please Krishna's senses, like that. So that's the difference. Both have desire. There's desire in both, right? So the common thing between lust and love is there's a desire. But what is the object of the desire? And with lust, or which is called calm in Sanskrit, sense gratification, that with lust, the desire is directed towards pleasing my own senses, or it's said an extension of that, right? So the first thing is with lust, the first thing is we please the senses of the body. Then how does that expand? How does that lust expand out? Does anyone know? Anyone think about that? That lust, I mean, it's centered around pleasing our own senses, but that lust expands out, radiates out wider, more wider.
Due to desire, do you mean?
Yeah, the desire, but that desire to gratify ourselves, that radiates out from our body, but it goes further than that. Okay, I want to please my body, but then what else do we want to please? Some people might disagree. No, I'm not so selfish like that. I'm not just trying to please myself. I try to please my family. But that's an extension of the same thing. Because what do you say? Okay, you say, my tongue, I please my tongue, my genitals, my belly, my eyes, my nose. Then you say my family. What's the common thing I said? Then my property. My society,
Attachment.
my nation. What's the common word?
Not attachment.
Attachment, yeah, attachment's here, but what's the common word?
My.
Yeah, so it's all centered around me, it means selfish, right? You get it? What's the difference between saying, I want my body to be happy. I want my wife to be happy. I want my children to be happy. I want my family to be happy. I want my dog to be happy. I want my countrymen to be happy. I want my society to be happy. I want my humanity to be happy. I want my earth to be happy. You know what I'm saying? So it's all centered around me.
Yeah.
So it's all centered around me. Like if you drop a stone in the water, what happens?
You get the ripples.
Yeah, it's all radiating out, right? So that's like the sense gratification. It radiates out. That lust, that sense gratification radiates out just like that pebble in the water. It radiates out those circles from where it began. So where it began is from this body, but then that radiates out. My body, then my family, then my society, then my country, and then my planet, and then whatever, then my universe, and it's all like radiating out from that. But it's all based on what makes me happy. Even like, well, we could say, the philanthropists, right? The altruists and the philanthropists, the welfare workers, they're really selfless. They're so selfless, but actually they're not. But they're doing they don't do anything for themselves. They're doing it all for the poor people, or for the sick people, or for the handicapped people, or the, like that's, or save the whales or whatever like that. But why are they doing that?
To please themselves.
That makes them feel good. That the whales are saved, or that the handicapped are a little bit better, or the hungry people are fed, or the sick people are fixed up again, or whatever. It makes them feel happy. So it's still lust. It's still lust. But it's called extended. It's extended sense gratification. It's still self-centered, and it's still temporary. and it's not going to bring true happiness.
You
But
think, though, if bhakti, sometimes that can be sense gratification too, though, like I'm going to serve Krishna, but I'm going to do it in a way that I enjoy, or, you know, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that's going to be there. That's going to be there in the beginning. But the thing is, because our enjoyment is connected with Krishna, then Krishna will purify us. That's the difference. So yeah, we still have that coating of selfishness, even with our service. You know, because I'll chant Hare Krishna, and you know, and Krishna's going to free me from suffering, and I'll be happy. You know, so there's still a coating of selfishness there, but the difference is that because there's a connection with Krishna, Krishna's going to purify me of that. Krishna's going to purify me of that. So eventually, even though now my service is motivated by some material desires, but eventually Krishna will purify me of all those material motives, and then it'll become pure love. And then, so what's an example of pure love? And the best example is the cowherd girls of Vrindavan, the gopis, where because of their service to Krishna, they didn't get happiness out of that. They just got suffering out of that, you know. Because when Krishna called them with his flute, they went to the forest and they left their husbands and parents and kids and household responsibilities and everything. And in that time in India, especially 5,000 years ago, very strict culture. If a woman leaves the house in the nighttime, she's not going to be welcomed back. You know, so it's very strict, not like now. You know, now the daughter or whatever can be out forever and the parents don't care, you know, or the husband or whatever, not even a husband anymore, just a partner that doesn't care, you know. But previously it wasn't like that, you know. So you get real chastised, like severely punished and chastised for doing that. So they actually, you know, through serving Krishna, it just caused them a lot of personal distress and difficulty, but they didn't care, because their only desire was to please Krishna. That their own happiness wasn't a consideration. It's amazing. That's why they're the best example in the history of this universe. The gopis are the best example of pure love for God, because they didn't have any personal consideration of their own happiness. Nothing. We can go to hell, I don't care, as long as Krishna's happy. But the thing is, when you're like that, when you have that pure love and you completely forget about yourself, that's when you for the very first time, become truly happy. When you forget about your own enjoyment, your own happiness, that's when you truly become happy. So it's not that they weren't happy because they were trying to make Krishna happy, but they automatically became happy. And we've discussed that point, right? Like, if you water the root of a tree, then what happens to all the leaves and the
whole tree?
The whole tree gets nourished, right? If you try to put the water on a million leaves or a million flowers or fruits, it's not going to work. You know, this whole thing's going to dry up. You just have to put the water on one root. And that root of everything, the source of everything, is God. So you just give the happiness to God, and automatically that happiness will go to everywhere. So that's the basic, you know, premise of Krishna consciousness. Just make Krishna happy and everyone's going to be happy. But we don't have to think about our own happiness. We just think about Krishna's happiness. And Krishna's thinking about, like I said, Krishna's thinking about our happiness. And that's what love is, right? Love is two-way. You know, the lover is just thinking of his beloved, and the beloved is just thinking about the lover. So they don't think about themselves. Or like, you know, the mother is just thinking about the child, like that. She's not thinking about herself. But in doing that, she's very happy. You know, she's very happy. Although she's forgotten about herself, but she's very happy because she's experiencing that selfless service to some degree, like that. So that's that's in the core of everyone's heart, that love for Krishna, but it's just covered by Maya. So that's the idea of the process of Krishna consciousness, is to uncover that love for Krishna, and it's automatically there. And I personally experienced that. I mean, I certainly wasn't educated to love Krishna. I didn't have those habits to love Krishna or serve Krishna, but it automatically came out of me when I started to associate with devotees and chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam and so forth. Then automatically that love for Krishna, became awakened. And then very quickly I dedicated my whole life to Krishna. And I wasn't born in an Indian family, a Hindu family, like that. I wasn't trained in bhakti or whatever from birth or anything like that. I was exactly the opposite. I was trained up in atheism and materialism and selfishness and lusty life and everything like that. But it automatically, the love for God got awakened just by associating with the holy name and the devotees like that. So that, and by hearing about Krishna, awaken that love for Krishna. And then we see that, devotees, so many devotees, so dedicated to Krishna consciousness, so much love for Krishna, giving up everything, all personal interests to please Krishna. And that's because it's in our hearts already. It's already there. We just have to try to awaken it through this process of hearing and chanting. That's very important. Therefore, the more hearing and chanting we do, the better. If you really want to awaken that love for God, the best thing to do is lots of hearing about Krishna and lots of chanting Krishna's names and lots of prasadam. So that's the process. And that will purify us of Maya, and that will awaken the love for Krishna in our hearts. And it's said that the love for Krishna is not coming from external source. You know what I'm saying? Love for Krishna doesn't come into a person from outside. You understand? Love for Krishna is already inside, but it's covered by crap. So much material crap. So we just have to remove that. It's not like Krishna consciousness is something imposed from external society or world onto us. No, it's already there. It's just like there's a seed in the ground, right? It's just sitting there, but it's dormant, right? It's not doing anything until what happens? Some water comes, some sunlight comes. When there's the right conditions, then that seed will sprout into a beautiful plant, will grow into a beautiful plant. So it's like that. The love for Krishna is in our heart like in a seed form. It's like a seed form just dormant there. And it's just waiting for that hearing about Krishna, when that enters our ear, that hearing Krishna's names or talks about Krishna enters our ear, that will germinate that seed of love for God in our hearts. So that's how the process of Krishna consciousness works. And that's why all around the world devotees go out into public and chant very loudly, because that will go into people's ear and then into their heart and then awaken their own love for Krishna in their heart. And that's why we distribute Krishna's prasadam everywhere, because people eat that and it'll awaken. Or we, talk the philosophy and distribute books and people read the book. And that will go into through their eyes into their heart by reading the book, or someone a devotee talking to them. Like a devotee spoke to me for 2 or 3 days, and that awakened my Krishna consciousness. That was the first devotee I met, and just by hearing him speak about Krishna, he awakened my Krishna consciousness, and I immediately surrendered. Just having heard him for 2 or 3 days. And then from then on, I just dedicated myself, because that awakened that love for Krishna in the heart. Now, it depends, of course, how much covering we have. Sometimes that awakening may take longer. Sometimes it might take very less time because not much covering is there. Sometimes more covering. It takes more hearing and more chanting before the love for Krishna to awaken like that. So, but still it can be awakened in everyone. Doesn't matter how sinful someone is or how pious they are. It doesn't really matter what their material situation is, but everyone potentially can be awakened to Krishna consciousness like that. Unless unless there is an unless the person is acting in an envious way. If they're acting in an envious way to Krishna or Krishna's devotees, then that's a big obstacle. And they still have love for Krishna also too, but because of their envious nature, like blaspheming, if someone blasphemes devotees or blasphemes Krishna like that, then that puts a block on their love for Krishna being awakened. It's not going to be awakened until that envious behavior is stopped. Then it's not going to be awakened. That's a big danger, actually. Envy is that's a big problem. Actually, that's the reason why the soul came to the material world, because of envy. Because of envy. We want to have Krishna's position. We want to be God. Let's read that. There's that verse in the 16th chapter about what happens there. 16th, 19. 16th chapter, text 19. Someone can read that?
Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life.
And the next one?
The purport?
No, the next verse, 20.
Okay. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demonic life, a son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence.
Abominable. Yeah. Abominable means like just, how would you say what would be another synonym for that, another word? It means like just terribly bad, terribly bad, so really low and bad like that. So yeah, that's see, everyone has love of God, but we've got to still be careful, how we act, how we behave. If we have a desire to be God, and we hate the real God, we want to be God ourselves, and we hate the real God, then that kind of desire is self-destructive. That's self-destructive. What do you call it? There's a name for that, people that want to kill themselves. I know that we had the word suicide, but there's another word. People
Not
have
destructive.
People that hurt themselves. People that like cut themselves and all that kind of. What do you call that? There's a name for that. People that inflict suffering on themselves. I can't remember. There's a scientific term for it or whatever. Anyway, but it's like that's what we're doing. If we have a desire to be Krishna, to be God, and we hate Krishna because he has the position that we want, we're actually doing that. We're hurting ourselves. We're hurting ourselves. So that's very unfortunate. So unless and until that desire is given up, when we get free from that envy, then we can start to get out of here. Then we can progress. But as long as we have that false hope to be God, that ambition, then we're stuck. Like then it's saying here that again and again, Krishna's going to put us in lower species, lower, down, ignorance, more ignorance, like that. And that's actually, we say, well, that's not very nice that God does that to his souls, puts them down and down and down. But actually that's mercy. That's mercy in one sense, because if that soul that has so much envy is in a human body, and they not only hurt themselves, but they hurt many others. And we experience that, right? That demoniac people, they create so much pain and suffering. They create wars, they create famines and so many things, and always lying and cheating and stealing and killing and murdering, everything like that. So, and setting up slaughterhouses and